Alrighty, hello. Before we dive into Frankenstein Alive, we're gonna say a brief RIP to Meatloaf. The legend Meatloaf passed away today, and it hit me. It hit me for some reason, ladies and gentlemen. This one sort of hit me. There's a bit of a tangential connection between Meatloaf and Bernie Wrightson, who was the artist on this book. He did a cover for Bernie Wrightson did the album cover for, I think it was Dead Ringer for Love. I'm just looked it up. I wasn't. It's not something I'm pulling off the top of my head, but apparently I guess Richard Corbin did the album cover for Bat Out of Hell. Richard Corbin did some. I'm not too familiar with him, but he did some Warren creepy comics as did Bernie Wrightson. And there's another, I forget who did this, Stephen Wellman, I think, did Bad Out of Hell too. Meatloaf covers, just good, excellent, unashamed fantasy art. I've been a big Meatloaf fan for a long time. I think he's really, him and Jim Steinman, they're a really underrated musical tour de force. I know they sold, millions and millions of copies of albums, millions of copies of Bad Out of Hell, but I still think they're underrated, especially in the today's modern catalog of whatever people are listening to today. I think add some Meatloaf to your diet. Add some bombastic rock opera. Just a sweaty bombastic legend died today, and just, I don't know, it hit me. We're also going to talk about a little bit about that ties into Bernie Wrightson's death. This was the last book that he did before he died in 2017, and he didn't quite manage to finish this one either, but it's still this was going out on a high note, for sure. Some artists, whether it's age or disinterest or lack of motivation, some artists, their talent sort of wanes later in life. But Bernie Wrightson, he went out on a high note. He kept his just ability, for his ability never diminished. So this is Frankenstein Alive by Steve Niles and Bernie Wrightson. I remember I used to be a big Steve Niles ruled the 2000s from Simon Dark. I read all the Simon Dark. He did one, I don't remember what it was called, but something about an astronaut. He came back from space and turned into a giant monster. 30 Days of Night. Steve Niles ruled the 2000s, and I don't know what he's up to these days, but good stuff out of him back in the day. But Bernie Wrightson is obviously the star of this book. Everybody, the book is largely splash pages, largely just real showcase pieces. This book is as much a coffee table book as it is a your traditional comic book. Hopefully the lighting's not too garbage. It keeps casting a shadow there. But this is definitely a book. This is definitely a book to be looked at. This is a book to be. Most comics, to me, are very, if they're not completely disposable, it's sort of, there's not too many books that I would sit and pour over the art book that I would this one. Another thing I have to mention is this was recommended to me in a comment on a Swamp Thing video. I get a lot of nice when I do comic book reviews. I get a lot of nice comments about comic books, which is nice. But I was confused because I knew he did some Frankenstein thing, and I wasn't sure what it was. But I didn't really know it was two different books. So he did in 1983. He did a bunch of pieces for just like an edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Like it's the book, and then it's interspersed with like lots of great big splash page type stuff like this. And this is sort of like a pseudo sequel to that, I guess. This is more of a comic book, but this is the definitely a continuation of that art, that work. Uh, lots of detail, obviously. Just like time and effort and mastery in every dang old page. And I get the sense these days that like almost the people are like ashamed of black and white. Like people, I feel like people are just like they take it for granted that like, oh well, every book has to be in color. Every book I do, the line art, that's just the beginning, and then the color is the finished process. Give me black and white. Give me just excellent black and white line art like this. If you this doesn't need, or it should not have color. I want I don't know. I want to see the work. I feel like when you put it through a ringer of like, well, here's the penciler and here's the inker and here's the colorist. I don't know. That's just the nature of whatever corporate made comic books, I guess. But like, I wanna see a dude poring over. I wanna see in my mind's eye not just the art, but like, this is a dude who's just how old was he when he made this? This is just like decades and decades of technique and practice and work and just really good stuff. So it starts off in the beginning, more of a high contrast type look, and then it gets more into the more, I don't know what you'd call this, more scratchy, more hatching. The story, again, Wrightson's art is really the focal point, and that's just sort of, whereas most comics are sort of a marriage of the two, I sort of, or maybe even other comics are sort of, the art is in service of the story. This is one where it's really like, the story is in service of the art. The story is here so that Bernie Wrightson can go nuts drawing Frankenstein, drawing zombies and the twisted lab equipment. But the story, let me think. It wasn't like super. It served its purpose. It's not earth-shattering, but it does have a nice... I found it had a nice theme to it. A nice life-affirming theme that you don't often get in arts or entertainment these days. Frankenstein in this story, rather than being a persistently tragic character like he usually is. While there is like some obviously elements of tragedy there, he's not a persistently tragic character. Like in the beginning, I think if I read it correctly, like the bulk of it is a flashback, and he's actually living the modern day in like kind of a circus troupe where like, even though he's getting like, people are freaked out and scared of him as they always are, and he gets a tomato thrown at his face, Frankenstein has this attitude of, it's a life. He finds dignity somehow in his life as a terrifying monster. He chooses life. He chooses life as George Michael Is he dead too? I think he's also dead. As George Michael once said, I believe, he chose life. And rather than just sort of being a mopey Gus, he, you know, and that's sort of a nice bookend to I don't. That's a nice theme to be in the work of to be in Bernie Wrightson's last artistic creation on this earth. He damn well gave his all up into his dying day. So he did. Wrightson did issues 1 through 3 are all him, I believe, unless I don't know. And then the last one, issue number 4, is Kelly Jones, who I'm not super familiar with. I know he did I think he did a Swamp Thing book, so I'll have to check that out. And I guess he was personally chosen by Wrightson to finish the book, and that's certainly a tough act to follow. I don't envy having to fill those shoes. He worked from some layouts, I guess. I don't know if the whole book was laid out, but I think these were some Wrightson layouts that Kelly Jones finished, and he has a different art style, but it definitely conforms to the gothic horror that is established. The book isn't strictly, I don't think, it draws from the movies as well. Frankenstein is thawed out from the ice, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. That seems like it draws a lot from it. Also, another thing that I noticed in the Kelly Jones art, and I don't know if this was on purpose. I don't know if they didn't scan it correctly. I don't know if these were. I don't know if Wrightson did blue pencil, and these are blue pencils to preserve Wrightson's layouts. But in the Kelly Jones, in the 4th issue, in his artwork, you can see. Let's try and get out of the shadow here. You can see the blue pencil here, which so when artists are doing layout, they work in a blue pencil oftentimes, and when you scan, I don't know how it works. You scan it under a certain setting, I guess, or maybe it's just the pencil, but the blue pencil goes away when you scan it, and then you just get the line work. But in this, you get the blue pencil here, and I don't mind it. I think it's cool, actually. Again, this is an artist's book. This is a book where you're looking at not just the art, but an artist's life. You're years and years of an artist's time and diligence and life, just all on the page there. And then so it's fitting. I think it's pretty fitting to see the blue pencil of whether it's Kelly Jones's or whoever. I think it's cool to see the actual the rough outs here. I think it's interesting, and it doesn't look bad. It works with the black and white pretty nicely. So let me think here. What else is I would definitely recommend getting this. It was $25. It's a nice size. It's a nice artist's. I don't know if this is this the size of paper that they use? I don't know. It's a nice size. It's a nice quick read, and then it's something that you're just going to look over. You're just gonna pick it up every so often, and you're just gonna stare at it. You're just gonna stare at it for minutes at a time. And it's I don't know, good stuff. People dying. I don't know. It sucks. It fucking sucks. It would have been nice. It would have been nice if people like Meatloaf and Bernie Wrightson would have had another decade or two to give the world more nice things. But unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. And yeah, anyway, just look at that. Look at that. Oh, okay. So in conclusion, every book, every comic book should be like this. This is what I want to say. Every comic book should be like this. It should not be a grind where you have to be on this monthly schedule that you're just like, we need to get something out this month. Let's go for the cheapest person, or let's maybe get a good person, but have them rush to make a deadline. This is what comic books should be. Who gives a fuck how long it takes? This shit will live forever. Like, this shit will appeal to people for years and years and years. Like, it should all be like this. Get great artists, have them do their best work, take their time, and then just really support it afterwards. I don't know if this is, has been supported the way it what is this, IDW put this out? I don't know how you would go about it in any case, but like, just do shit that's gonna last and that you could be proud of, and just like, again, you could just look at this without, you could have had no words in this entire book. Didn't need. I don't want to diminish the contributions of Steve Niles, but you could have just had Wrightson just do all this art without any words, and you could figure out the story. You could piece everything together, and it would be just as good. Anyway, okay. I think that's all I got to say. Frankenstein Alive. Good stuff. The best stuff. Goodbye.